Have you ever felt trapped in a dead-end routine, as if everything was crumbling around you? Maggie, a teacher burdened with debt and lost dreams, was at rock bottom, but a simple decision changed her life in a way she never could have imagined. Get ready for a story of overcoming challenges, exciting twists, and a transformation that starts from scratch. Watch until the end to discover the secret that transformed her reality. And before we begin, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Let's embark on this journey together. I can still smell the cold coffee from that night. It was just another Thursday, almost midnight, and I was sitting in my small kitchen, surrounded by endless piles of my students' work to grade and bills to pay. The only light came from a dim lamp that flickered occasionally, as if mocking my situation. "Ms. Maggie, you need to take a break," my department colleague Sarah had told me earlier that day. "You have terrible dark circles." "I can't," I replied, forcing a smile. "I have to turn in the grades tomorrow, and there are all the bills for the month to organize." That conversation echoed in my mind as I stared at the bank statement in front of me. Red numbers, again. Minus $2,478.53. How was this possible? I had calculated everything so carefully. "Ms. Thompson," the bank manager's voice still resonated from that morning's call, "we need to resolve your situation. Your card will be blocked if there is no deposit by Monday." I took my phone and opened the banking app for the 1,000th time, as if the numbers could magically change. Nothing. Just that bright red staring back at me. "Mom, Michael invited me to the school camp my son Tom had mentioned at dinner. It's only $300. Sweetie, let's talk about that later, okay?" I replied, feeling my heart tighten. His face fell immediately. He already knew what that meant. At 12 years old, my son had learned the coded language of scarcity. I got up to heat more coffee, my third of the night, and stopped in front of the fridge. There, stuck by a worn-out magnet, was the drawing Tom had made in first grade, our family in front of a big house, with a dog and a car in the garage. Simple dreams that felt increasingly distant. The sound of the neighbor's car pulling in made me look out the window. Mark, always coming home late from his second job. He waved, and I returned it. We were all the same in that building, tireless workers chasing the bare minimum. "You're a great teacher, Maggie," Principal Wilson had said at the last meeting. "But unfortunately, the school budget is tight this year. We can't offer raises." I returned to the table, where the bills formed a daunting pyramid: rent, utilities, credit card, car payment, which was now sitting in the shop, health insurance. Each piece of paper felt like an extra weight on my shoulders. That night, alone in the dimly lit kitchen, I had no idea my life was about to change completely. That moment of despair would be the beginning of something extraordinary. But first, I needed to hit rock bottom. It was one of those nights when sleep wouldn't come. After putting Tom to bed, I found myself mindlessly scrolling through the news feed, trying to escape reality. That's when an ad caught my attention: how I transformed my financial life with one simple change. Normally, I would ignore that kind of content. But something that night felt different. Maybe it was fatigue, maybe desperation. I clicked on the video and saw a woman who looked as real as I did. "First of all," she began, "this isn't about get-rich-quick schemes or magic formulas. It's about something much deeper: your mindset." I settled into my chair, intrigued. The woman continued, "Your mind is your greatest resource. When you change your mindset, you change your reality." What nonsense, I initially thought. But I kept watching. The next morning, during breakfast, Tom caught me taking notes in my old notebook. "What are you writing, Mom?" "Just a few ideas, sweetie," I replied, jotting down, abundance mindset. During the break between classes, Sarah noticed I was different. "You seem, I don't know, lighter today," she commented. "You know that feeling when you discover something that makes total sense?" I replied. "It's like everything that has happened until now has had a purpose." "What are you talking about?" I tried to explain the concept of an abundance mindset, but the words came out jumbled. Sarah looked at me as if I had grown a second head. "Maggie, you need to be realistic," she said gently. "We're teachers, not entrepreneurs." But for the first time in years, something inside me refused to accept that limitation. I spent my lunch break researching more about the topic on my phone. Every article, every video seemed to speak directly to me. "If you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep living the same way." That phrase echoed in my mind all afternoon. As I explained equations to my second-grade class, I realized I was teaching something I needed to learn myself. Sometimes, to solve a problem, you need to completely change your approach. That night, before going to bed, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote a dream in my journal. It wasn't a list of empty wishes, but a declaration of possibilities. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. The initial enthusiasm lasted exactly 3 days. On the 4th morning, I woke up to a call from the bank, another late bill. Sitting in the kitchen, looking at the reheated coffee, the voice of reality echoed in my head. "Who do you think you are?" Tom rushed in. "Mom, I need $50 for the school trip." My stomach sank. I opened my wallet, empty. I tried to smile. "Let's talk about this later, okay?" In the school bathroom mirror, I whispered to myself, "I am worthy of abundance." But my reflection seemed to laugh at me. A teacher with overdue paychecks, talking about abundance? Sarah found me in the hallway. "And what about that manifestation thing? Are you still into it?" "I'm trying," I replied, unsure. "Maggie, you need to wake up. Look at us, we're high school teachers. You can't keep dreaming of castles in the air." Her words hurt because they echoed my own doubts. That night, I tried to do the visualizations I had learned, but my mind only showed overdue bills and red numbers. Maybe they're right, I thought, closing the notebook where I had written my dreams. Maybe this is just a waste of time. The next day, I received yet another late rent notification. I sat on the couch and cried. "Tom found me like that. What's wrong, Mom?" "Nothing, dear. Just tired." "But didn't you say things were going to get better? You said you were learning something new." His words caught me off guard. I realized it wasn't just for me that I needed to keep going. "You're right, Tom. Sometimes Mom forgets." That night, while grading tests, I found a note from a student. "Thank you for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself." I stared at those words for a long time. It was ironic, I could see potential in my students, but not in myself. The voice of doubt was still there, but now I was starting to recognize that it wasn't the only possible truth. Okay, I thought, maybe I don't know how this is going to work. But what if it really is possible? I was rummaging through a box of used books when my fingers brushed against a dusty cover. "The Power of Daily Gratitude," I read aloud. $2.50. It was almost all the money I had in my wallet. "That book changed my life," a voice said behind me. I turned around and saw a gray-haired lady, Mary, the store owner. Her smile had something familiar, warm. "What do you mean?" I asked, curious. Come, I'll show you something, she replied, pulling a notebook from the drawer. This is my gratitude journal. 5 years ago, I was broke, just like you. I widened my eyes. How do you know I'm? Dear, I recognize that look. It's the same one I had. You know what I learned? Gratitude is more than words, it's a daily practice. Mary opened her journal. Every day, before the sun rises, I write down 3 things: something I have, something I want, and a thank you in advance for something that is coming. But how can you thank for something that hasn't happened yet? She smiled. That's where the magic is. When you thank in advance, you're telling the universe that you trust it. I went home with the book and a new notebook. The next morning, I woke up earlier. Tom was still asleep. I sat at the kitchen table, took a deep breath, and began, I thank you for the hot coffee this morning. I thank you for the opportunity to teach. I thank you in advance for the abundance that is coming. At first, the words felt empty. But Mary had warned me, don't wait to feel gratitude to start. Start, and the feeling will come. I established a ritual, 15 minutes every morning. Sometimes, Tom would find me writing. What are you writing so much, Mom? I'm making a magic list, I'd reply, smiling. Can I do it too? Soon, we had 2 notebooks on the kitchen table. Mornings took on a new meaning. They were no longer just the start of another hard day, they were an opportunity to rewrite our story. Mary became more than a mentor, it was as if the universe had sent me an angel disguised as a used bookseller. Every week, I went back to the store, not just for the books, but for the wisdom she shared over a cup of tea. After a month of practicing gratitude, something strange began to happen. In the teacher's lounge, Lisa approached me, Maggie, I have some students who need private math lessons. I thought of you. My first impulse was to decline, I was already overwhelmed. But Mary's voice echoed, when opportunity knocks, open the door. How many students? I asked. 3, initially. $40 an hour each. I did the math quickly, that would be an extra $480 a month. Exactly the amount of my overdue credit card. At home, I reorganized my routine. Tom helped me turn our dining table into a study area in the afternoon. Look, Mom, we can use colorful post-its for the formulas. The private lessons started, and surprisingly, I didn't feel more tired. It was as if gratitude had given me new energy. One day, after class, one of the moms commented, "You have a special gift for teaching. Have you thought about teaching at the private school where my son studies?" Me? But they're looking for teachers for next semester. I'll recommend you. That night, I wrote in my journal, I thank you for the courage to say yes to opportunities. The first truly remarkable moment was when I opened my bank statement. For the first time in 3 years, I managed to pay more than the minimum on my credit card. Mom, are you crying? Tom asked, finding me in the kitchen. These are tears of joy, dear. You know that debt that worried me so much? I managed to pay a significant part of it. Because of your magic notebook? I smiled. Because of many things. The notebook, the extra lessons, and mainly for not giving up. At the bookstore, I shared the news with Mary. See, she smiled. These aren't coincidences. It's the universe responding to your new frequency. But they are such small things. Small? Maggie, you are building a new reality, brick by brick. There is no instant transformation, there is daily commitment. Looking back, I realized that those first changes were like drops of water filling a bucket. Alone, They seemed insignificant, but together they were creating something bigger. Each small victory fed my faith in the process, and each new yes opened doors I didn't even know existed. It was an ordinary Tuesday when I received the call from the coordinator of the private school. "Maggie, we loved your proposal for the creative writing program for teachers. We want to implement it across the entire school network." My heart raced. Across the entire network? Yes, there are 12 schools. And we want you to lead the project. I sat in the nearest chair, trembling. The initial contract would be $50,000 to develop the complete program. Can you deliver in 3 months? At that moment, I heard Mary's voice. When the universe presents an opportunity, it also provides the resources. Yes, I can, I replied, surprising myself with my certainty. That night, Tom found me organizing materials in the room. "Mom, you're different." "What do you mean, dear?" "Your eyes, they're shining." I hugged my son, realizing he was right. Something had fundamentally changed inside me. The following weeks were intense. I recorded videos after classes, wrote material on weekends. Tom became my technical assistant. "Mom, you need to speak closer to the microphone. And smile more." On the eve of the launch, fear tried to paralyze me. I called Mary. "What if no one likes it? What if I fail?" "Maggie, remember what we wrote in your journal? You've already thanked for this success months ago. Now it's just about receiving." The program was an instant success. Feedback started pouring in. This changed the way I teach. Finally, someone understands our needs. But the moment that changed everything wasn't seeing the deposit in my account. It was when a teacher wrote to me, "Maggie, your courage to create this inspired me to follow my dreams too." Sitting in my kitchen, where it all began, I held my gratitude journal. The pages were worn from use. Some stained with coffee, others with tears. Each page told the story not only of my financial transformation but of my inner transformation. Tom came running in. "Mom, look. I made my own gratitude list." As he read his childlike list, "I'm thankful for my mom being happy now," I realized that true manifestation wasn't in the numbers in the bank account but in the person I had become. Today, sitting in the same cafe where I used to count coins to buy a simple coffee, I order my favorite drink without looking at the price. But it's not the coffee that makes me smile, it's seeing other people jotting notes in their journals, just like I used to. A young woman approaches timidly. "Sorry to bother you, but are you Maggie? I follow your podcast on manifestation." "Yes, that's me. Your stories, they gave me hope when I was at my lowest." I invite her to sit. She tells me about her debts, her fears. The same look I had. "You know what I discovered?" I say to her. Money was never the real problem. It was what I believed about myself. I open my current journal and show her. "See these pages? I still write every day. Not because I need to manifest something, but because it reminds me of who I've become." Tom, now a teenager, keeps his own journal. The other day, I caught him writing, "Son, do you still keep that practice?" "Of course, Mom. You taught me that our thoughts create our reality." Mary still has her used bookstore. Now, in addition to books, she has a special section for blank journals. On the first page of each, she handwrites, "Your new life begins on this page." Last week, a lady approached me after a talk. "I have nothing to be grateful for. My life is a mess." I smiled, remembering myself. Start by being thankful for being here, in this moment. For taking the first step. The power isn't in the words we write, but in the decision to write a new story. Every person I meet reminds me that we all have that power within us. To you who are listening to this right now, yes, you. Grab a piece of paper. Write down one thing you are grateful for today. Tomorrow, write another. Don't wait to be ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Because the truth is simple, your transformation begins the moment you decide you deserve more. It's not about how much money you have in the bank, it's about how much value you see in yourself. The blank page of your life is before you. The universe is waiting. What will you write on it? If this story inspired you, leave your like and share it with someone who also needs to hear this. Comment below, what are you ready to manifest in your life? I want to know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more transformative stories like this. Hit the bell to not miss any content that could be the next step in your journey. Remember, your transformation starts with a decision. Shall we rewrite our story together? Until the next video.